I'm Nicole.
I'm Jamie.
This is my roommate. I'm about to show her my website that I created this semester about my adopted family. Meaning, for my race and ethnic relations class, we had to create a website with information based on an ethnicity that we were adopted to in the beginning of the semester. And this semester, I was adopted into the Pacific Islander ethnicity. So all my assignments, they were the same for everyone, but we had to find information specifically about our ethnicity. So that's what we're doing. And Jamie has some questions for me, and we're first going to answer those questions. Tell me what she has. So, where's your first question?
You're talking about the percentages over housing and financial
Let's see
problems that islanders face.
About housing and things? Was it down in here, or was it another page?
It was in the more
Matrix of Domination?
one of the two. Yes.
Okay. Tell me where your question is.
Okay, so let's talk about housing availability. And you're giving me numbers, but I don't know what those numbers mean in relation to what.
Okay. So, I think what it's saying, I'm not exactly sure, but we're going to figure this out. I think what it's saying is they did tests on information with housing, and the numbers are the percentages of the Pacific Islanders within those tests. So like 17.5% of 100%. So it's like, let's find an example. So like here where it says whites received favorable treatment with respect to housing availability in 49.3% of tests compared to only 38.6% in which Asians and Pacific Islanders were favored. It means that about half the time whites were favored more compared to only 38% they were favored more. Meaning whites had over 10% chance, a better chance with housing than Asians or Pacific Islanders. And keep in mind, Asians and Pacific Islanders tend to get grouped together. It wasn't until several years ago, probably about 10 years ago or so, that the government recognized them as separate ethnicities. That's why a lot of this information you probably saw mentioned Asian and Pacific Islanders, because they were combined together. So it's not specifically them, it's the both of them combined in this case. So that would be a different number if it was just Pacific Islanders, but it's the two of them, so put together they're favored more, but even then they're still a lot less favored separate than together than the whites. So, what's the next question?
I had it and then I forgot. Let me think. Okay. It was about when the first Samoans or Tongans first started immigrating to the U.S.
When they first came to the country?
Yeah, why weren't, does it say why they didn't come before, or?
I never found that. Travel was probably really hard back then, even back in the 1950s when Elder Groberg went over, as was depicted in The Other Side of Heaven. I think that trip took 3 months to get. So traveling was probably very difficult back then. The first Tongan, which is the first Pacific Islander, came over in the 50s. Well, the first one came not in the 50s, 1924. But travel back then was still very hard. So it was probably very difficult for them, and it's a long process. And they probably didn't explore the world like whites did, because majority of the people didn't come till only 150 years before that to America, and then they were all on the east side of the country. They didn't come to the west side till mid 1800s, late 1800s and stuff. So, and then the church came over in the 40s, and then missionaries were being sent out later. The first one came over with a member of the church. So, but who knows how long that trip took. So my guess is probably just travel, and with the time period back then, this is 90 years ago. So this was a very long time ago. So traveling was probably very difficult, as in the 50s. 3 months to get to an island, and a long process and big stuff. And probably very expensive too, exactly. Okay.
So what are some of the distinguishing characteristics of the culture between, say, Samoan and Tongan, or...
The distinct ones? That's a good question. That is a very good one. Let's see what we can find. Are you like physical characteristics, like how they look, or
more of their culture and mannerisms?
Okay. That's very good. They are very similar, but there's probably some differences. Wish I knew that. I feel stupid now, but it's okay. We'll both learn. Let's do a search. See if we can find some pictures. See, Tongans you see are the cultural theme. Rugby is a big thing there, when you're Tongan. The Samoans seem to be stockier, kind of, I guess, portrayed more of a, well, again with the rugby, but seems like they are
A few different
bigger.
other kind of sports.
Yeah, there's a few other things, but it seems like some of them are bigger and stockier. It could also be maybe skin tone as well, but there's just a little bit different thing. Something that happened is there's a culture thing between Fiji, I think it's Fiji and Samoa, because hundreds of years ago, Fiji tried to take over Samoa with rule, but they didn't want to, so there's kind of like a conflict there, just because they didn't want a rule. But pretty much they're all the same, general, similar things. So probably maybe do things slightly different, but all in all, they look the same. They, hair color, physical characteristics. Like, I could look at someone and not tell if they're Samoan or Tongan unless they told me, or Fijian, however you say it. But yeah, they're just all very, very similar. So it's just kind of looking at this, just celebrities, but so the dancing with the the grass anklets and coverings, and rugby is a big thing in other sports. So they're just all kind of about the same thing, as we see from the pictures we found on Google. Do you have any more questions, or is that?
I think that's about it.
That's about it? Okay. Let's see what else I need to teach you. Look at this. We first answered your question, so that was good.
Yeah, he said that it'll work for him with the list thing in the morning. So call him when I get back.
So, let's see what we can get done. The thing is, with under the matrix of domination, that's where most of the information is. So before we get to that, let's actually look at this page, because this talks about stereotypes. People think that Asian Pacific Islanders are the same thing, but they're not. There's the Pacific Islands, and then there's the Asian Islands. Even if they're all in the Pacific, ocean, it's just where they are in relation to the continent. And there's quite a few, like Vietnamese and Indonesian are Asian. They're not Pacific Islander. That's where sometimes people get confused, because they're so close to the island. Like Filipinos, they're Asian. They're not Pacific Islanders. Even though they're close and kind of similar concepts and traditions, they're different. So
my understanding is that Asians are a little smaller in stature, and Samoans and Tongans, Pacific Islanders, are bigger and, well,
Yeah.
stronger in
That's
some
that's
ways.
a good way to distinct them. Is Asians tend to be kind of a smaller, just the body shape and proportions they are. They do tend to be small. Pacific Islanders and Tongans, Samoans, Fijians are known for being big and stocky people. Even though there are lean people that are tall, but that's a stereotype. So they're big and stocky, and that's what makes them good for sports. That says right here, like Bad and Savages. Making them good for football, but
Just a myth.
yeah, it's just a myth. There's like back in the days, like Hollywood movies, like kind of what they did with American Indians. Just they created the stereotypes. So that's what they thought because that's just like what Hollywood created. So that's what everyone thought. But it's just they're just bigger people, but that's just how their race is. That's just the way they are built. Just like like Africans tend to be smaller and leaner, pretty tall people, and they can be, Pacific Islanders can be stocky. It's just the way that they are in the world. So that's the thing. But back in the day, that probably maybe was the case. But it's not just grass grows everywhere. It's part of the culture. But not everyone is like that. So that was one stereotype. So
we're walking back from
the
Hickory. We're like right here.
Matrix of Domination.
In this car full of girls.
Josh, is that you? It's the Matrix of Domination.
Tell everybody about that.
Because it's funny.
It's like-
Sorry, we're recording here.
Making a
And then
video.
Girls and their boyfriends. Sheesh.
But they're friends, that's okay. The Matrix of Domination. It's made of corresponding systems of inequality that are connected. They are made such as categories that we discuss in class where education, media, crime, family, health, and housing. And it's different things within those that affects it. There's still a little bit of segregation even today. A big thing with them is housing. That they tend to, like I was saying with the question earlier with the numbers, they tend to have less favorable housing because the whites tend to get it more. And it's not just, just because people are white. They're just discriminated against. But it could also be because their contractor, who's helping them with their house, is white. But if they get more reasonable treatment, it's probably because they have a contractor or renter that is similar to them, so they get more favorable treatment. Unlike someone who's white will pick someone who is white to rent a house to over someone who's not white. So, right here, housing availability. Asians and Pacific Islander home buyers, they usually receive less information about available homes than comparable whites. So, and that's just a link from the website. So it's like, if you have a group of people, maybe 10 white people and 10 Pacific Islanders, more white people will hear about it than Pacific Islanders, even though there's the same amount. So it's kind of like looking at that in a way. The whites just get to see it more, even though they may have the same financial problems and things like that. There's segregation still in the workplace. Big thing is that they try to get equal opportunities with benefits and getting the idea to work and things. Quick video. They're discriminated a lot in Australia, actually. There's a lot of segregation there, and the big thing is the crime and criminal justice is down there. I think even still today, Pacific Islanders are looked down upon in Australia by the natives there. And so there's a lot of things. There's a lot of crime and blaming the Pacific Islanders that live in the country. So that's a big problem as well. The portrayal in the media of the grass skirts and their savages, the spirits, and they're just like, oh, things like that. So that's the end of that. So, anything else you'd like to know, or is that about it?
That's it.
That's it? Alright. Well, that's the website. That's teaching. Thanks to Jamie.